Welcome to my channel, Advanced Learner Studio.
Today's podcast topic: are we ready for self-driving cars? Advanced English listening practice. Close your eyes for a moment. Well, actually don't if you're driving, but picture this with me. You're in your car, cruising through city streets, but, your hands aren't on the wheel. You're sipping your morning coffee, maybe catching up on emails, or even squeezing in a few extra minutes of sleep. Your vehicle is just effortlessly navigating rush hour, smoothly avoiding pedestrians, expertly weaving through traffic, all without a single input from you. No stress, no road rage, just you, completely relaxed, and your destination getting closer by the minute. Sounds like something from a far-off future, doesn't it?
It really does. But what's so remarkable is that this isn't just a fantasy anymore. This promise of self-driving cars is rapidly becoming a tangible reality. Autonomous vehicles are already beginning to appear on our roads, with major players actively deploying their systems and really leading the charge in this new era of transportation.
It's astonishing how quickly this technology has moved from concept to deployment. Really quite something. But here's the million-dollar question that this deep dive is going to try and unravel. Are we truly ready for them? Are our roads, our intricate legal frameworks, and our collective human mindsets actually prepared to hand over control to these intelligent machines? Today, we're going to embark on a deep dive into the world of self-driving cars, peeling back the layers of the cutting-edge technology that makes them possible, exploring the incredible potential benefits they promise, confronting the significant challenges we still face, and ultimately wrestling with whether humanity is genuinely prepared to let go of the steering wheel.
It's an incredibly complex landscape, without a doubt. The journey ahead involves navigating not just the intricacies of cutting-edge technology, but also addressing profound societal implications, and adapting our entire infrastructure and legal systems. There are so many diverse facets to this discussion, and honestly, we're just at the beginning of truly understanding the full scope of what's to come.
All right, let's unpack this then. Before we get too far into the wild ride of promises and pitfalls, let's maybe pull back the curtain on what's actually under the hood of these machines. What exactly are we talking about when we say self-driving car? What defines these vehicles beyond just being a cool futuristic gadget?
Right. Well, at their very core, these vehicles are essentially sophisticated mobile robots, but purpose-built for transportation. They are packed with an intricate array of cutting-edge technology. Think a combination of high-definition cameras that see the world in detail, radar systems that detect objects and their speed, LiDAR, which uses laser pulses to create a 3D map of the surroundings, and ultrasonic sensors for close-range detection. And most crucially, all of this data feeds into powerful artificial intelligence, or AI. This AI processes everything in real time, allowing the car to perceive its environment, predict what might happen next, and navigate roads without needing any human input. You can truly think of them as robot chauffeurs, but like with superhuman reflexes, a 360-degree awareness, and an unwavering, tireless dedication to following traffic rules to the letter. To bring some clarity to this rapidly evolving field, the Society of Automotive Engineers, or SAE, has developed a pretty clear breakdown of vehicle autonomy into 6 distinct levels. It's a very helpful framework for understanding the progression, from zero automation to full self-driving.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a crucial framework for understanding where we are and where we're headed. Could you walk us through those 6 levels, maybe from zero all the way to that ultimate dream of full automation?
Absolutely. It starts quite simply, almost trivially, but it's important to set the baseline. Level 0 is no automation. This is just your standard, conventional car. The human driver is fully responsible for all driving tasks at all times: steering, accelerating, braking, watching the road. There's no automated assistance whatsoever. It's all on you.
Got it. Standard car.
Exactly. Then we move to level 1, which is basic assistance. Here, the car offers some fundamental help, but it's limited to one aspect of driving at a time. Think of adaptive cruise control, which maintains a set speed and distance, or maybe lane keeping assistance, which helps nudge you back if you drift. But you, the human, are still fully in charge of the other driving functions, even if the car helps with one thing.
Okay, so it helps a bit, but you're still driving.
Precisely. Level 2 is partial automation. This is where things start to get significantly more integrated. At this level, the car can simultaneously handle both steering and acceleration braking. A prominent example that many people are familiar with is certain advanced driver assistance systems in popular electric vehicles today. Now, while the car performs these tasks, it critically requires constant human supervision. The driver must remain attentive, usually with their hands on the wheel, always ready to take over at a moment's notice if the system, encounters something it can't handle or disengages.
So it's more like a co-pilot than the car driving itself completely?
That's a good way to put it, yeah. It's a co-pilot. Stepping up, we have level 3, conditional automation. This is a significant leap. At this stage, the car can actually drive itself in specific, clearly defined scenarios, like maybe on highways under certain optimal conditions. The key distinction here is that the human driver is no longer required to constantly monitor the environment. They could, for instance, watch a movie or check their phone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
However, and this is a big however, they must be prepared to intervene and take over control when prompted by the system. The car isn't designed to handle all possible situations independently. If it encounters something it can't manage, it will alert the human to take over within a few seconds.
I see. So you can relax a bit, but you still need to be ready to jump back in.
Exactly. Then, level 4 signifies high automation. Here, the car can handle most driving tasks entirely on its own within what's called a defined operating domain. This typically means specific geographical areas like a particular city or maybe certain environmental conditions. Within these defined areas, the car can operate without any human input, meaning you could potentially nap or even exit the driver's seat. If it encounters a situation it can't handle outside its domain, it will safely pull over or come to a complete stop. It doesn't need a human to take over.
Okay, that's getting much closer to the dream. Defined areas, though.
Right. And finally, the ultimate goal, the visionary future, level 5. Full automation. This is the absolute dream scenario. The car can drive anywhere at any time under any conditions, requiring absolutely no human intervention whatsoever. In a true level 5 vehicle, there wouldn't even be a steering wheel or pedals because a human driver would simply never be needed. The car is the driver.
Wow. Level 5 sounds incredible. So if level 5 is the ultimate goal, that sci-fi dream, where are we actually right now? I mean, in terms of what's truly on the road for everyday use, are we seeing level 4s and 5s zipping around?
Right now, most self-driving vehicles you encounter on the road are operating at level 3 or probably more commonly level 4 autonomy. For instance, some specialized driverless taxi services, in major cities like Phoenix and San Francisco, they're excellent examples of solid level 4 systems. They operate fully autonomously in specific designated areas without any human safety driver present in the car, handling all aspects of the drive.
Okay, those robo-taxis.
Exactly. In contrast, many advanced driver assistance systems found in popular consumer vehicles today, despite their advanced capabilities and sometimes ambitious names, are generally considered to be closer to level 2, or perhaps at best, a very advanced level 2+ system. They still require significant human oversight and intervention, meaning the driver must always be fully engaged and ready to take over.
Right, like we discussed with level 2.
Yes. So while progress is incredibly impressive and we have real deployed autonomous systems out there, level 5, that truly universal, anywhere, anytime, self-driving capability that remains a future goal, something we're still striving for, definitely not a current reality.
Understood. So we're not quite at the nap in the back seat on the highway to anywhere stage yet.
Not just yet, no.
But even with level 3 or 4, what's the big deal about these cars and why should we care? Beyond just the cool technology, what's the real tangible impact they could have on our lives?
You're right to ask that. The implications are quite profound, actually. Self-driving cars are far more than just a cool gadget or a technological novelty. They genuinely have the potential to revolutionize how we live, how we work, and how we move about our world. The benefits could touch nearly every aspect of our daily lives, and that's why there's so much excitement, from engineers to urban planners to everyday commuters like us.
Let's start with what seems like the most obvious and critical benefit, something that touches everyone: safety. How exactly could self-driving cars make our roads safer, especially considering how many accidents happen every day?
The statistics on human driving are, frankly, quite stark. Human drivers, by their very nature, are fallible. We get distracted by our phones, we get sleepy after a long day, we become impatient in traffic, and unfortunately, these very human traits are reflected dramatically in crash data. Research from transportation safety organizations consistently reports that a staggering majority, often cited around 94% of car crashes, are directly attributable to human error.
94%?
Wow. Yeah, it's huge. This includes everything from texting while driving and speeding to driving under the influence. Self-driving cars, well, by their very design, They're not susceptible to these human flaws. Their advanced sensor systems provide a constant 360-degree view around the vehicle. They can detect obstacles and react far faster than any human possibly can, and they adhere strictly to traffic rules without ever getting bored or frustrated or emotional. One recent study projected that with widespread adoption, autonomous vehicles could potentially cut traffic fatalities by as much as 80%.
80%? That's incredible.
Think about that for a moment. An 80% cut in traffic fatalities. That's not just a statistic, it's the potential to virtually eliminate the leading cause of accidental death for young people in many countries. It's about preventing tens of thousands of families from experiencing unimaginable loss every single year. Globally, millions of people die in road crashes each year. If self-driving cars can truly deliver on their safety promise, that devastating number could decrease quite dramatically. This isn't just about convenience, it's potentially a profound public health revolution waiting to happen.
That's a truly massive potential impact, saving so many lives and preventing so much heartache. Okay, and beyond safety, what about the daily grind of commuting? Can these cars really help us beat traffic and reclaim our precious time? Because for many of us, that's hours every week just staring at the taillights in front of us.
Absolutely. Anyone who's spent time stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic knows how much precious time that steals from your life, how much it just grates on your patience. Self-driving cars are engineered to fundamentally alter this experience. They can optimize routes in real time, communicate with other vehicles on the road to coordinate flow, and drive with an efficiency and consistency that human drivers simply can't match, leading to a significant reduction in congestion. For instance, a recent university study found that if just a small percentage, like maybe 10% of cars on the road were autonomous, it could improve traffic flow by a remarkable margin, maybe 35% in urban areas.
Just 10% could make that much difference.
Apparently so, according to that study. Imagine smoother commutes, fewer delays, and fewer frustrating moments spent honking your horn. Moreover, with the car handling all the driving responsibilities, you would be free to use that time for whatever you choose. Catching up on emails, diving into a good book, planning your day, or even finally finishing that gripping series everyone's talking about, it literally translates into reclaiming hours of your life every single week that would otherwise be lost to the sheer act of driving.
Getting hours of your life back every week, that sounds like a dream for anyone with a long commute.
It really does. It's like getting a secret bonus 25th hour in your day.
And what about accessibility? Can these vehicles open up new possibilities for people who currently can't drive, truly changing their lives?
This is a truly significant benefit, and one that often gets overlooked in the broader discussion about autonomous tech. For millions of people worldwide, the inability to drive represents a major barrier to independence and participation in society. This includes individuals with various disabilities, the elderly who may no longer be able to safely operate a vehicle, or even those who simply don't possess a driver's license or access to a car. Self-driving cars could profoundly impact their lives by providing unprecedented mobility. Imagine an elderly person spontaneously deciding to visit their grandchildren across town, or someone with a physical disability being able to commute to a job they couldn't reach before.
That would be life-changing.
Absolutely. It would allow them to get to work, visit friends and family, attend appointments, or run errands without having to rely on others for transportation. A recent report highlighted how autonomous vehicles have the potential to transform mobility for millions, leading to a much more inclusive society. This isn't just about convenience. It's genuinely about granting a new level of freedom, independence, and dignity.
And for those of us deeply concerned about the health of our planet, do self-driving cars offer a greener way to get around? Will they truly help us reduce our carbon footprint?
They certainly could. A significant number of the autonomous vehicles being developed and deployed today are electric, which immediately means zero tailpipe emissions. So that's a great start.
Right, the electric part is key.
It is, but the environmental benefits extend beyond just the power source. Autonomous vehicles are programmed to drive with extreme efficiency. They exhibit smoother acceleration and braking, avoid sudden movements, and optimize their speed, which significantly reduces unnecessary fuel consumption compared to often erratic and less efficient human driving patterns. A global energy report estimated that a widespread shift to autonomous electric vehicles could reduce transportation-related carbon emissions by a substantial percentage, maybe 20–30% within the next decade or so.
20 to 30% reduction. That's significant.
It is. And if you combine that with the concept of shared autonomous fleets, imagine a future where self-driving ride-sharing services are the norm, you could see a dramatic reduction in the overall number of cars on the road. Fewer cars mean less congestion, less manufacturing demand, less parking infrastructure, and ultimately, a healthier planet. It's about optimizing the entire transportation ecosystem, really.
So safer, more efficient, more accessible, and greener. That's quite a list of compelling advantages. What about the economic side of things? Can these cars actually save us money in our pockets, both individually and collectively?
They absolutely can, and the economic wins are quite compelling, touching both personal finances and broader industry. Fewer accidents, for example, directly translate to lower insurance costs for everyone and less money spent on vehicle repairs or replacements. That's a big one.
Lower insurance. I like the sound of that.
Right. The efficient driving patterns we just discussed also mean reduced fuel expenses for traditional combustion engines, or optimized battery usage for electric vehicles, which adds up over time. But perhaps the biggest economic shift could come from the rise of shared autonomous fleets. If you could simply summon a self-driving vehicle whenever you need one, the necessity of personal car ownership diminishes greatly for many people. Imagine the savings. No more car payments, no insurance premiums, no maintenance bills, no parking fees. This could save individuals and households thousands of dollars annually.
Thousands a year. Wow.
Yeah. One major consulting study projected that autonomous ride-sharing services could reduce transportation costs for urban households by up to 40%. That's a substantial amount of cash that could stay in your pocket, free to be spent on other things or invested or saved.
Okay, that all sounds so incredibly appealing, almost like a utopian vision. All these incredible benefits make it seem like a complete no-brainer. But, okay, before we get too excited, let's pump the brakes a bit and really look at the challenges. Because as awesome as self-driving cars sound, they're not quite ready to take over the world just yet, are they? There's a whole gauntlet of hurdles, technical, ethical, legal, social, that are giving experts and, frankly, everyday people significant pause. This is where it gets truly interesting.
Indeed. The path to full autonomy is fraught with complexities that go far beyond just building the initial technology. These are intricate, deeply interwoven problems that require multifaceted solutions, involving not just engineers, but lawmakers, ethicists, urban planners, the whole lot.
Let's start with the tech itself. You mentioned all those sensors and AI, but it sounds like there are still some pretty significant kinks to work out. I mean, we all know our smartphones glitch sometimes, and this is a car, a 2-ton machine moving at high speed.
You're right to point out the complexity. Self-driving cars rely on an incredibly sophisticated and interconnected system of high-tech components. Cameras, radar, LiDAR, powerful AI processing units, all trying to make sense of the chaotic, unpredictable real world in real time. The challenge is that even the most advanced systems have limitations. For example, physical sensors can become blocked by something as simple as dirt or snow or even heavy rain.
Right, like if mud splashes on a sensor.
Exactly. Cameras can struggle significantly in adverse weather conditions like heavy downpours, thick fog, or even blinding glare from the sun. And the AI, while incredibly sophisticated, can still misinterpret highly complex or ambiguous scenarios that might seem second nature to a human driver. Think about that high-profile incident a few years back where a self-driving test vehicle fatally struck a pedestrian who was walking a bicycle at night.
I remember reading about that. Terrible.
It was. And while the car's sensors did detect the person, the system didn't correctly classify or react to the object in a way that would have prevented the collision. This incident starkly highlighted significant gaps in the technology's ability to interpret and respond to truly unexpected, nuanced real-world situations. Now, companies have made tremendous improvements since then, absolutely. But a recent report from a prominent safety institute still noted that even advanced systems continue to struggle with a notable percentage, maybe 10–15%, of real-world driving scenarios.
10 to 15% still. What kind of scenarios?
Things like encountering erratic pedestrians, navigating complex and ever-changing construction zones, or performing reliably in truly extreme weather conditions. Achieving level 5, the ability for a car to handle any situation, anywhere, flawlessly truly requires monumental leaps in AI capability and an unimaginable amount of real-world testing and validation. We're still seeing a lot of what engineers call edge cases, situations that are rare but incredibly tricky for the AI to handle.
That really underscores the enormous technical challenge. Okay, and if something does go wrong, if there's a crash, who's actually responsible? This seems like a massive legal head-scratcher that could tie up courts for years.
It absolutely is, and it's one of the most perplexing questions facing widespread adoption. If a self-driving car is involved in a collision, who is legally to blame? Is it the driver, even if they weren't actively driving and their hands were off the wheel?
Good question.
Is it the car manufacturer who designed the hardware? Or is it the software developer who wrote the AI code that made the decision in that split second? Right now, our existing legal system is simply not equipped to handle this kind of nuanced liability. In some countries, while some regions like California or Arizona in the US have developed specific rules for testing autonomous vehicles on public roads, there is no consistent national or international standard. This patchwork of regulations creates significant uncertainty.
So it varies wildly, depending on where you are.
Pretty much. One legal report warned that these unclear and inconsistent liability laws could lead to years, if not decades, of contentious court battles, slowing down progress dramatically. This legal vacuum leaves both manufacturers and consumers in a state of limbo and acts as a significant impediment to widespread adoption. Imagine buying a car and not knowing who's on the hook if it crashes due to its own systems. That's a tough sell for the average person.
It's definitely a tough sell. And it's not just about legal liability, is it? It's about programming morality into a machine. These ethical dilemmas, like the classic trolley problem, become terrifyingly real when you put them into a computer chip. How do you even begin to program a car to make life or death decisions? Is there even a right answer?
This is indeed a profound and deeply unsettling aspect of autonomous vehicle development, moving beyond pure engineering into philosophy. Self-driving cars will inevitably face split-second life-or-death decisions that are truly ethical dilemmas, not merely technical challenges. Imagine a scenario where the car must choose between swerving to avoid a pedestrian, but in doing so, it risks hitting a cyclist, or perhaps staying its course and harming the pedestrian. How is the AI programmed to make such a decision?
Oh, man.
Which life, if any, is prioritized? Who dictates the ethical framework for these choices, engineers, governments, or society as a whole? It's heavy stuff. This isn't just an abstract philosophical problem. It's a very real and immediate concern for engineers and ethicists today. A groundbreaking study, often called the moral machine experiment, surveyed millions of people worldwide and uncovered something critical. There is no global consensus on how self-driving cars should prioritize lives in such dilemmas.
No consensus at all.
Not really. The study revealed significant cultural differences and preferences. For example, participants from some Western countries often lean towards protecting pedestrians, while some Asian cultures indicated a preference for prioritizing the passengers within the vehicle. There were also variations in whether younger lives should be prioritized over older ones or more lives over fewer. Programming these incredibly complex moral choices into AI is an absolute minefield. Companies developing these systems are often understandably cautious, maybe even cagey, about publicly disclosing their specific approaches, fearing significant public backlash if their algorithms become widely known and don't align with everyone's moral compass.
It's a conversation we as a society are only just beginning to have, really.
Absolutely. We're playing catch-up in a way.
And as these cars become more like computers on wheels, constantly connected, that raises a huge red flag for many people. Cybersecurity. Could self-driving cars actually be hacked? Is that a realistic threat or just Hollywood movie fodder?
It's absolutely a realistic and critical vulnerability. Self-driving cars are, in essence, highly sophisticated rolling computers. They are constantly connected to the internet, communicating with infrastructure, with other vehicles, and with remote servers. This constant connectivity, while enabling their impressive functionality, also makes them inherently vulnerable to cyber attacks. A recent report from a leading cybersecurity firm explicitly exposed various weaknesses in autonomous vehicle systems. These vulnerabilities range from relatively minor inconveniences like GPS spoofing tricking a car's navigation system into thinking it's somewhere it's not.
That could be annoying. Or dangerous.
Exactly. But it goes to far more sinister threats, like remote takeovers of critical functions, such as steering or braking.
Whoa, remote takeover,
Yeah.
like in the movies.
Potentially, yes. Imagine the sheer chaos if a malicious actor or a rogue state were to seize control of an entire fleet of self-driving taxis in a major city, perhaps even causing them to drive erratically or halt simultaneously. The potential for disruption, economic damage, or even widespread physical harm is enormous. Protecting these vehicles from such threats requires military-grade encryption, continuous and rapid software updates to patch newly discovered vulnerabilities, and constant vigilance from manufacturers and security experts. It's an ongoing, high-stakes cat-and-mouse game where the consequences of failure are incredibly severe. That's sobering. Okay, beyond the tech and the hackers, there's the messy unpredictability of human beings. How does the human element, our completely erratic, unpredictable behavior, fit into a world of perfectly programmed cars? And what about public trust? You hear it all the time. Many people just don't trust machines to drive. That's a crucial and deeply multifaceted challenge. Human unpredictability is a significant hurdle for autonomous vehicles. Think about it. Pedestrians sometimes jaywalk without looking, cyclists might dart unexpectedly into traffic lanes, and other human drivers. Well, let's just say they don't always signal or follow lane discipline or drive predictably.
Tell me about it.
Right. Self-driving cars must coexist with human drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians for the foreseeable future. And navigating this mixed traffic environment is incredibly tricky. A recent university study, for example, found that autonomous vehicles often struggle to predict nuanced human behavior in these mixed traffic situations. This often leads them to adopt overly cautious, almost timid driving patterns, which can sometimes be frustratingly slow or even create unexpected situations for the human drivers around them who expect more assertive behavior.
So they might drive too perfectly, in a way.
In a sense, yes. They follow rules rigidly, while humans bend them. Beyond the operational challenges, there's the monumental hurdle of public trust. Many people simply don't yet trust self-driving cars, and maybe understandably so. A recent public opinion survey revealed that a significant percentage, maybe around 60% of people, are uncomfortable with fully autonomous vehicles. Their concerns primarily revolve around the fear of losing control, anxieties about potential machine errors, or simply a lack of understanding about how the technology actually works.
60% is a lot of people still uncomfortable.
It is. Building this trust will be a long process. It requires immense transparency from companies regarding their system's performance, including detailed reporting of crashes and near misses, not just the success stories. It will also necessitate extensive public demonstrations, opportunities for people to experience test rides firsthand, and robust, clear education campaigns to demystify the technology. It's a huge psychological hurdle that's as important as the technological one.
And all this cutting-edge tech must come with a huge price tag, right? Both for the cars themselves and for the roads they'll drive on. Who's going to foot that bill? That seems like a massive barrier.
You've hit on another major obstacle: cost. The advanced technology required for true self-driving capabilities is incredibly expensive. High-resolution LiDAR systems, specialized cameras, and the powerful, dedicated computers needed to process all that data and run the AI algorithms can add anywhere from tens of thousands to well over $100,000 to the cost of a single vehicle right now.
$100,000 extra?
In some cases, yes. While these component prices are gradually dropping as technology matures and production scales, it remains a significant financial barrier for widespread consumer adoption. Most people simply can't afford a car that expensive. Then there's the even larger cost of infrastructure upgrades. For self-driving cars to operate at their peak efficiency and safety, our roads, traffic lights, and even signage might need substantial upgrades to talk to these autonomous vehicles.
Like smart roads.
Exactly. This could involve embedding sensors in the road, installing smart traffic signals that communicate with cars, or even updating road markings for better machine vision. One estimate from a transportation department projected that upgrading national infrastructure for full autonomy could cost a staggering amount. Think hundreds of billions.
Wow. Billions.
Yeah, that's an incredibly tough sell, especially when cities and governments are already grappling with massive budgets and struggling to fund basic maintenance like fixing potholes. It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. The cars need smart roads, but smart roads cost a fortune.
And finally, the big societal question that worries a lot of people. What about jobs? Could self-driving cars lead to massive economic disruption, especially for people whose livelihoods depend entirely on driving? Truck drivers, taxi drivers.
This is a very serious concern, and one that absolutely needs careful, proactive planning. Self-driving cars have the potential to profoundly reshape our economy in ways that we may not be entirely prepared for. Millions of jobs are intrinsically linked to driving. Think about long-haul truck drivers who spend days on the road, taxi and rideshare drivers navigating city streets, local delivery workers, even bus operators. Labor statistics project that millions, maybe up to 2.5 million driving-related jobs in the U.S. alone could be impacted by autonomous vehicle adoption within the next decade or so.
2.5 million, that's huge.
It is. While it's true that the emergence of this new technology will undoubtedly create new jobs in areas like autonomous vehicle tech development, specialized maintenance for these complex systems, and fleet management, the transition for the existing workforce could be incredibly rough and disruptive. It's absolutely critical that we prioritize robust retraining programs to equip displaced workers with new in-demand skills for the evolving job market. This could involve initiatives like coding boot camps specifically tailored for former truck drivers or specialized maintenance training for autonomous fleets. Furthermore, comprehensive economic support will be crucial to prevent significant social and economic fallout and to ensure that these workers are not simply left behind in the wake of technological advancement. It's a massive societal responsibility we face.
That's a lot to consider. Okay, so what does this all mean when we look at real-world applications and global approaches? It sounds like some companies and countries are really pushing the boundaries while others are being more cautious. How is this actually playing out on the ground?
They certainly are. And to truly grasp where we stand, it's vital to look at how different players are tackling these challenges and seizing the opportunities. What's fascinating here is how global this push is and how different strategies are playing out, almost like a grand experiment across various cultures and economies.
Let's dive into some of the leading companies then. Who are the trailblazers making real progress right now, warts and all?
Okay, we can start with a company that many consider the driverless trailblazer, the one that spun off from a major tech giant, Waymo. They're truly a poster child for self-driving tech. Their Level 4 autonomous taxis have been operating and giving rides in Phoenix since as far back as 2018.
Since 2018, that's quite a while now.
It is. And they've since expanded their services to include San Francisco and Los Angeles. Their vehicles have logged tens of millions of miles, using a sophisticated combination of LiDAR, radar, and cameras to navigate incredibly complex urban environments. Their safety record is remarkably strong with a very low incident rate, though like any vehicle, they have been involved in minor fender benders. Waymo's strategy, which focuses on meticulously mapping and operating within specific, predefined geofenced areas, has demonstrated that Level 4 autonomy is achievable and practical in controlled environments. However, this also means that scaling their operations to new cities or expanding beyond their current zones is a slow and rather expensive process.
So great tech, but slow to expand.
Kind of, yeah. Requires extensive mapping and validation for each new area. Next, there's another very prominent car manufacturer, Tesla, with its full self-driving, or FSD, system. They've taken a notably bold and distinct approach, aiming to achieve autonomy, primarily using only cameras and advanced AI, intentionally opting against the use of LiDAR, perhaps to keep costs down. Their FSE system is capable of handling complex city streets, navigating stoplights, and managing roundabouts. However, it's crucial to remember, as we discussed, despite its advanced features, it's still fundamentally a Level 2 or maybe highly advanced Level 2+ system. It requires constant human supervision.
Right. The driver needs to pay attention.
Always. Tesla's strategy heavily relies on real-world data collected from the millions of its vehicles already on the road globally. This provides an absolutely massive data set for training its AI and continually improving its machine learning algorithms, a huge edge in some ways. However, this approach has also led to concerns, notably after some high-profile incidents and increased regulatory scrutiny from safety bodies like NHTSA, specifically looking into its pedestrian detection capabilities in recent years. This ongoing situation serves as a stark reminder that we are not yet at a set-it-and-forget-it stage of autonomy.
So a different approach, using real-world data but still facing scrutiny.
Exactly. Then we have Cruise, another significant player backed by GM. They've been operating Level 4 autonomous taxis in San Francisco using all-electric Chevy Bolts, logging millions of miles in dense city traffic. However, Cruise faced a major setback and significant public backlash following a serious incident in 2023 where one of their vehicles, after being involved in a separate collision caused by a human driver, subsequently dragged a pedestrian.
Oh yeah, I remember that was big news.
It was. It led to a temporary suspension of their operations by regulators and served as a stark reminder of the immense stakes involved in deploying this technology. Cruise has since resumed operations, but only after implementing stricter safety protocols, highlighting a commitment to learning from mistakes and enhancing system reliability. A tough lesson learned. Finally, let's look east. In China, Baidu, a major tech company, is making rapid progress with its Apollo autonomous vehicle program. They have Level 4 autonomous vehicles operating in major cities like Beijing and Shenzhen. China's regulatory environment is generally seen as less restrictive than in some Western countries, which has allowed Baidu to test its vehicles very aggressively, accumulating vast numbers of miles over 15 million by 2025, reportedly. Their Apollo Go robotaxi service is expanding quickly across China.
Faster progress due to fewer rules, maybe.
Potentially, yes. However, this accelerated pace also raises specific concerns regarding data privacy and cybersecurity, particularly given the sometimes close ties between tech companies and the state in China. Baidu's success clearly demonstrates how regulatory flexibility can significantly accelerate the pace of development and deployment, but it also prompts important questions about the trade-offs involved, especially concerning individual privacy and data control.
It's clear that different companies are taking different paths and experiencing different challenges. How does this play out globally? Are there distinct national approaches to self-driving cars, almost like different philosophies? You mentioned China's approach.
Yes, and what's truly fascinating here is how global this push is and how different nations are carving out unique strategies based on their distinct cultures, policy priorities, and existing infrastructure. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach. In Europe, the approach is primarily safety first. With its stringent safety regulations and a general societal preference for caution, Europe is moving very carefully. Countries like Germany and Sweden permit only limited autonomous testing, and the European Union's broader safety regulations mandate incredibly rigorous standards for the AI and sensor performance in these vehicles. Major European automakers like Volvo and Daimler are largely focusing on Level 3 systems for highways, prioritizing incremental, verifiable progress rather than rapid, broad deployment. A recent Eurobarometer survey indicated that while about 55% of Europeans are open to self-driving cars, this openness is strongly conditional on safety being absolutely guaranteed. It's all about meticulous validation there.
Safety first, cautious steps. Makes sense for Europe.
Then there's China, which is going full speed ahead. The government there is all in on autonomy, seeing it as a crucial pathway to dominating the global AI landscape and significantly reducing severe urban congestion. As we discussed with Baidu, less stringent regulations have enabled much faster progress in aggressive testing. However, as a recent report from a strategic studies group highlighted, this raises significant concerns about data security and potential government surveillance. China's approach certainly could make it the first country to achieve widespread Level 4 adoption, but it definitely raises important questions about the broader societal cost, especially concerning individual privacy.
Speed versus privacy concerns, a clear trade-off.
Exactly. Japan, in contrast, focuses on aging population, new solutions. For Japan, self-driving cars aren't just about convenience. They're seen as a critical solution to a unique societal challenge. With its rapidly aging population, mobility for seniors is a significant priority. Japanese automakers like Toyota and Nissan are specifically testing Level 4 vehicles in rural areas where public transportation options are often limited and the population density is lower. A recent Japan Times poll indicated that a remarkable 70% of seniors in Japan support autonomous vehicles, viewing them as a vital tool for maintaining their independence. Japan's emphasis on accessibility and social support over sheer speed truly sets its approach apart.
Using the tech to solve a specific societal need.
That's interesting. It is. And finally, we have developing nations which present a different challenge. In places like India or Brazil, self-driving cars face unique and formidable hurdles. These include extremely chaotic traffic conditions, often poor or inconsistent road infrastructure, and significant affordability issues for the average citizen. While local companies like Tata and global players like Zoox are exploring tailored solutions for these markets, a recent World Bank report suggested that developing nations might initially lag in widespread adoption due to these persistent cost and infrastructure gaps. However, there's also an intriguing possibility. Shared autonomous fleets could potentially allow these regions to leapfrog traditional private car ownership models entirely, directly adopting advanced mobility solutions that bypass some of the historical challenges of vehicle proliferation. It's a fascinating dynamic to watch.
So, a very mixed global picture, driven by different priorities and challenges.
Okay, beyond the technological advancements and legal frameworks, self-driving cars also raise these big questions about ethics and society that will undoubtedly shape how this technology is deployed. It's not just about what's technically possible, is it? It's what's truly right for humanity.
Precisely. These are not merely abstract debates. They are fundamental ethical and social considerations that will deeply influence public acceptance and regulatory decisions. They go to the heart of our values and how we want technology to interact with human life, forcing us to define what we prioritize.
Let's revisit that trolley problem in code. You mentioned it earlier, and it just seems so mind-boggling. Can you go a bit deeper into how these moral dilemmas truly play out for self-driving cars and how difficult it is to resolve them? It is mind-boggling, and for good reason. The classic philosophical trolley problem forces a choice. Would you sacrifice one life to save 5? For self-driving cars, this theoretical dilemma becomes a terrifyingly real-world problem that engineers and programmers are actively grappling with right now. The car's AI will inevitably encounter situations where it must make a split-second decision that could determine who lives and who dies. For example, should the car prioritize the safety of its passengers above all else? Or should it try to minimize overall harm by protecting vulnerable pedestrians or other drivers on the road, even if it puts its own occupants at greater risk? It's a genuine moral tightrope.
No easy answers there.
None at all. As that moral machine study vividly demonstrated, there's no universal agreement on these profoundly difficult choices. The study highlighted significant cultural differences, remember. People from some Western countries often leaning towards protecting pedestrians, while some Asian cultures showed a preference for prioritizing the occupants of the vehicle. This lack of global consensus makes programming these ethical choices incredibly fraught. Companies developing these systems are often quite reserved, as I said, maybe even cagey, about their specific ethical algorithms, precisely because they fear intense public backlash if their approach is deemed unacceptable by a segment of society. There's no easy answer, and it forces us to confront our deepest moral intuitions in a technological context we never anticipated.
And as these vehicles become mobile data centers, constantly recording, what about privacy? How much information will they collect about us, our routines, our surroundings, and critically, who will have access to it? That worries a lot of people.
It's a major and legitimate concern for many. Self-driving cars, by their very nature, are constantly collecting vast amounts of data. This includes not only where you go and how you drive, but also incredibly detailed information about your driving habits, the routes you take, and even intricate data about your immediate surroundings. Everything the car's array of sensors can perceive.
Everything. Wow.
Pretty much everything within range. A recent Consumer Reports survey found that about 65% of Americans expressed worry about how this collected data would be used. Will this highly personal information be sold to advertisers? Will it be shared with government agencies without explicit consent? These are very real questions that cut to the core of personal autonomy in a digital age. While companies building these vehicles like Waymo and Tesla assert that they prioritize user privacy and employ robust data protection measures, any potential data breaches or hacks could severely erode public trust. The sheer volume and sensitivity of the data collected means that strong, transparent privacy policies and ironclad security are absolutely paramount.
Trust is fragile when it comes to personal data. Okay, beyond the individual, how might self-driving cars actually reshape our cities and impact our lifestyles? Could urban planning and daily life change drastically, almost without us noticing?
The potential for urban transformation is immense, yes, and it's a ripple effect that touches everything from architecture to social patterns. Self-driving cars could fundamentally reshape the way our cities are designed and how we experience daily life within them. For instance, if cars can drop you off at your destination and then autonomously drive to a remote parking facility or return to a shared fleet, the need for vast, expensive parking lots in prime urban areas could be dramatically reduced.
Imagine cities without huge parking garages.
Exactly. Imagine transforming those concrete structures into vibrant parks, affordable housing, or new commercial developments. It could also lead to more shared vehicle fleets, potentially reducing the overall number of cars on the road and lessening urban sprawl by making car ownership less essential for many. One urban planning study, for example, predicted that autonomous vehicles could reduce the need for urban parking by as much as 50% in major cities. This suggests a future where our urban landscapes look quite different, maybe greener and more pedestrian-friendly.
That sounds amazing.
However, there's also a potential flip side to this scenario, a fascinating paradox. If self-driving cars make commuting too effortless and enjoyable, allowing people to work, relax, or even sleep during their journey, it could inadvertently encourage longer commutes.
The sprawl effect.
Precisely. This in turn might contribute to increased suburban sprawl, pushing populations further out from city centers and potentially negating some of the environmental and congestion benefits we just discussed. It's a complex interplay of forces that urban planners are keenly observing and trying to model.
So, after all this, are we ready for self-driving cars? It sounds like the answer is still, maybe not quite yet, but we're making significant progress. What's the biggest hurdle on the technical side that still needs to be clear to truly get us there?
Well, the technology, while incredibly advanced, still needs significant improvement before it can truly handle every conceivable driving scenario with absolute reliability. The AI must become far more capable of handling those rare, unpredictable edge cases, those unusual one-in-a-million situations that are difficult to program for or anticipate. Sensors need to function flawlessly and reliably in all weather conditions, no matter how extreme snow, heavy rain, fog, glare. And ultimately, these complex systems must become completely foolproof, eliminating the potential for critical errors.
Foolproof is a high bar.
It is. More real-world testing, conducted rigorously and transparently, is absolutely essential. Furthermore, greater data sharing between companies, where appropriate and ethically sound, could significantly accelerate the learning process for the AI. A recent engineering report even suggested that open-source AI models for autonomous vehicles could speed up innovation and enhance safety by allowing for collaborative improvement and scrutiny.
And what about the legal landscape? You mentioned it's a bit of a mess right now, state by state, country by country. What's urgently needed there to provide clarity and maybe speed things up?
We urgently need clear, universal regulations. The current patchwork of state-level rules in the U.S. and inconsistent international laws creates immense confusion and uncertainty for manufacturers and consumers alike. Key questions like who is liable in a crash or how an autonomous vehicle is officially certified as safe need consistent, unambiguous answers that apply everywhere. International bodies, like the UN's World Forum for Harmonization of Vehicle Regulations, are actively working on developing global standards. But progress is inherently slow due to the complexity and divergent national interests. A unified international legal and regulatory framework would provide much-needed clarity for manufacturers, allowing them to scale their operations with confidence, and it would significantly boost public confidence by ensuring a consistent standard of safety and accountability everywhere. Without that legal consistency, scaling globally is incredibly difficult.
That makes perfect sense. Consistency builds confidence. Okay, how do we get people to trust these cars, especially after hearing about some of the incidents we've discussed and just the general human inclination to be wary of machines taking over complex tasks?
Building public trust is arguably one of the biggest hurdles remaining, and it's as much psychological as it is technical. It's not just about the technology being safe. It's about people believing that it's safe and being comfortable integrating it into their daily lives. Companies absolutely need to be transparent about their system's performance, and this includes openly disclosing information about crashes and near misses, not just trumpeting successes. Secrecy breeds suspicion.
Transparency is key.
Absolutely. Public demonstrations, where people can witness these vehicles operating safely in real time, coupled with opportunities for test rides, can go a long way in demystifying the technology and building familiarity. Targeted education campaigns are also crucial to explain how the technology works, its limitations, and its benefits in simple, understandable terms. A recent AAA survey highlighted this perfectly. It found that around 70% of people would trust self-driving cars more if they had the opportunity to try them firsthand. Experience truly fosters trust.
Get people in the cars, let them see it works. Okay. And what about the physical infrastructure? Do our roads, our traffic lights, our entire city layouts need a massive upgrade for these smart cars to truly thrive? Can they work well without it?
They can work without it, to a degree, but for self-driving cars to achieve their full potential and operate most effectively and safely, yes, our existing infrastructure could use significant upgrades to become smarter. This means investing in smart roads equipped with embedded sensors, connected traffic lights that can communicate with vehicles in real time, V2I, vehicle to infrastructure, and maybe advanced VTV, vehicle-to-vehicle communication systems. These systems would allow cars to receive information about traffic conditions, road hazards, and even traffic light timings directly from the infrastructure, enhancing safety and efficiency beyond what a car's onboard sensors alone can perceive.
So the roads talk to the cars. Essentially, yes. We're already seeing promising pilot programs in cities like Singapore and Dubai, which are actively integrating smart infrastructure. However, scaling these advanced systems globally represents that massive financial investment we talked about that governments are still figuring out how to fund. Public-private partnerships will likely be crucial to spread the costs and accelerate the necessary upgrades.
Another big check to write. Okay, and back to that crucial point about jobs. How do we proactively support workers who might be displaced by this technology to avoid widespread economic fallout and, frankly, human suffering? It's absolutely essential that we proactively prepare for potential job displacement to avoid significant economic fallout and social disruption. This isn't just a moral imperative, but a practical one for a smooth societal transition. We must invest heavily in robust retraining programs designed to equip workers whose jobs are at risk, truck drivers, taxi drivers, delivery workers with new, in-demand skills for the evolving economy. This could involve initiatives like coding boot camps specifically tailored for former drivers, or specialized maintenance training programs for the complex autonomous fleets that will require servicing. A major economic organization's report, the OECD, I believe, emphasized the scale of this need, calling for substantial global investment, maybe $50 billion globally, specifically to retrain workers who will be affected by automation across various sectors. Without this forward-thinking support, the societal costs could outweigh many of the benefits, leading to widespread discontent and hardship. We can't just leave people behind.
50 billion. That highlights the scale. Okay, and finally, addressing those deeply uncomfortable ethical dilemmas we talked about. How do we as a society navigate that moral minefield, that trolley problem in code, in a way that aligns with our values? Who decides?
Navigating the ethical minefield of self-driving cars requires ongoing, open, and inclusive conversations across all segments of society. It can't just be engineers in a lab. We need to collectively decide how these vehicles should be programmed to make difficult life-or-death decisions when there are no good options. This raises critical questions. Should governments establish clear, binding guidelines for ethical programming that all manufacturers must adhere to? And should companies be required to disclose the specific algorithms that govern these ethical choices, allowing for public scrutiny and debate?
Openness versus proprietary algorithms. Tricky balance.
Very tricky. It is absolutely essential that ethicists, policymakers, legal experts, and the broader public are involved in these decisions, not just engineers and corporations. A collaborative and transparent approach is really the only way to build societal consensus and prevent a significant public backlash that could stall the adoption of this potentially transformative technology. These are conversations about what it means to be human in an increasingly automated world.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, looking at everything we've discussed, the incredible promise, the daunting challenges, the global efforts, what's next for autonomous vehicles?
It sounds like a long road to full autonomy, but maybe the destination seems like it could truly be worth it for all of us. It certainly is a long road, with many complexities still to untangle, but the future looks incredibly promising. And the destination, if we navigate these challenges correctly, could truly be transformative for society. Analysts are making optimistic predictions. By the end of this decade, maybe 2030, it's estimated that a significant percentage, maybe 20–30% of new cars sold, could have Level 4 capabilities, particularly in certain markets or vehicle segments. However, Level 5, that ultimate dream of universal anywhere, anytime autonomy, is still projected to be at least a decade or more away. Could be 2035, 2040, maybe even later for widespread availability.
So Level 4 soonish, Level 5 still a ways off.
That seems to be the consensus. The expectation is that shared autonomous fleets, like robotaxis, will likely lead the charge in adoption, especially in dense urban environments where the economic and convenience benefits are most immediate and compelling. A recent financial report from Goldman Sachs projected that the autonomous vehicle market could be worth a staggering amount, maybe $300 billion by 2035, driven largely by the growth of ride-sharing and logistics services.
$300 billion.
Yeah, big numbers. But the impact of self-driving technology extends far beyond just passenger cars. It's poised to revolutionize sectors like long-haul trucking, making logistics more efficient and potentially less prone to human error fatigue. It could reshape last-mile delivery services, bringing goods to our doorsteps faster and maybe cheaper. And it could even transform public transit. Autonomous buses and shuttles are already undergoing testing in cities across the globe, like Helsinki and Singapore, offering glimpses into a future of more streamlined, accessible, and environmentally friendly public transportation.
So it's not just about personal cars at all?
Not at all. The ripple effects of this technology could profoundly touch nearly every part of our lives, from how we shop to how we commute to how our very cities are designed and organized. It's a fundamental reimagining of mobility.
So bringing it all together, are we truly ready for self-driving cars? They offer an exciting glimpse into a future that's potentially safer, greener, more accessible, and more efficient. But as we've explored pretty thoroughly, we're not quite ready to hand over the keys completely just yet.
That's precisely it. The technology is impressive and advancing rapidly, no doubt about it, but it's still imperfect, still has those edge cases. Our laws are currently patchy and inconsistent, lagging behind the tech, and society as a whole is still warming up to the idea, still grappling with the profound ethical and social implications. There's just a lot of work still to do across many different fields.
Understood. Progress is absolutely being made, though, and companies around the world are certainly paving the way with incredible innovations. But it sounds like it's fundamentally a team effort, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Governments, brilliant engineers, astute policymakers, thoughtful ethicists, and everyday people like you, our listener, all have a crucial role to play in shaping this future responsibly. So what do you think? After hearing all of this, would you hop into a self-driving car today? Or are you maybe waiting for a few more green lights on the dashboard, so to speak? Let's keep the conversation rolling because the future of transportation is definitely one wild ride. And before you go, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Okay, picture this. You're stuck in that awful rush hour gridlock, right? But instead of gripping the wheel, you're, I don't know, catching up on emails, maybe sipping a coffee, totally hands off. And your car, it's just smoothly navigating the whole mess, weaving through traffic, dodging pedestrians, all by itself.
It's that classic sci-fi dream, isn't it? But what's really striking is how fast autonomous vehicles, AVs, are moving from, well, just concepts into actual deployment on our streets. It's happening now. Faster than a lot of people think.
Exactly. And that speed, that acceleration is why we wanted to do this deep dive. We need to unpack what's really going on. Are we actually ready? Are our roads, our legal systems, even just our own heads ready to hand over the keys, so to speak?
It's a huge question because it's not just about the tech, is it? It's about grappling with some really profound societal shifts. You've got the ethical knots, potential job losses, massive changes. We need to look at the technology itself, sure, but also the upsides and, frankly, the significant hurdles.
Right. Let's ground ourselves first, before we jump into the future. What is an autonomous vehicle, technically? How does this rolling computer actually see the world around it?
Well, at its core, a self-driving car is essentially a highly sophisticated mobile robot, purpose-built for getting from A to B. And it perceives the world through this complex array of sensors.
Okay.
You've got high-def cameras, basically its eyes, radar, which is great for spotting objects and their speed. And then the really key one often is LiDAR.
LiDAR, that's the laser pulse tech, right? It creates a 3D map.
Precisely, yeah. It sends out laser pulses and builds this incredibly detailed, real-time 3D map of everything surrounding the car. Throw in ultrasonic sensors for really close-up stuff, parking and whatnot. All that data floods into a powerful AI brain.
And that AI brain has to process it all instantly. Perceive, predict, navigate. It's like having a robot chauffeur with, I guess, superhuman reflexes and eyes in the back of its head. That never gets tired.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. And look, to make sense of how far along this tech is, the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, came up with these levels of autonomy, 6 levels. Understanding these is really key to figuring out where we are now.
Okay, walk us through those, because the difference between, say, level 2 and level 4 seems crucial to all the debates happening right now.
Definitely. So level 0 is, well, zero automation, nothing. The human does everything. Level 1 is basic driver assistance. The car helps with one thing, like adaptive cruise control or maybe lane keeping assist.
Got it. Features most new cars have today.
Exactly. Level 2 is partial automation. Now the car can handle both steering and acceleration braking at the same time. Think integrated systems like you see in many popular EVs. But, and this is the crucial part, level 2 demands constant human supervision. You have to be watching, ready to take over instantly, like a co-pilot.
Right. That distinction is vital. It helps you drive. It doesn't replace you driving.
Correct. Now, level 3, conditional automation. This is a big philosophical jump. Here, the car can drive itself entirely, but only in specific and predefined conditions, maybe on a clear highway, good weather, and the key difference. The driver is not legally required to constantly monitor. You could, theoretically, watch a movie.
But wait, if you only have a few seconds notice to take back control, isn't level 3 potentially the most dangerous? You're asking an inattentive person to suddenly make a life or death call. Does that transition time really work?
Well, that's the huge debate, isn't it? Many experts are really nervous about that handoff. That's why level 3 deployment has been quite slow, very cautious. It puts a massive burden on the human to be this fallback system that can snap to attention perfectly. It's a known behavioral challenge.
Yeah, I can see that. So how do we get past relying on that tricky human handoff?
That brings us to levels 4 and 5. Level 4 is high automation. The car handles everything within a specific defined operating domain, maybe a certain part of a city or a mapped highway network. No human input needed within that zone. If it leaves the zone or something unexpected happens it can't handle, it's designed to safely pull over. It doesn't just toss control back to the human.
Okay, that sounds like real autonomy, even if it's limited geographically. And level 5?
Level 5 is the ultimate goal. Full automation. The car drives itself absolutely anywhere, anytime, under any conditions. No human needed, ever. You might not even have a steering wheel or pedals, just a cabin.
Okay, so with that framework, where are we actually now? Are most advanced systems level 3?
We're seeing some really impressive level 4 deployments, but they're typically in those geofenced areas. Think robo-taxi services, like you see operating fully driverless in parts of Phoenix or San Francisco. But for consumer cars you can buy. Globally, Level 2 systems are still the most common advanced feature, and that universal Level 5, well, that's still likely a decade or more out.
Right, so we have the tech landscape. Let's pivot to the why. Why push for this so hard? What are the really big benefits if we can get this right?
You absolutely have to start with safety. The numbers are just stark. Around 94% of all car crashes involve human error, distraction, fatigue, speeding, bad judgment.
94%. Wow. Okay, but hang on. If that's true, doesn't every future crash potentially become a lawsuit against the car maker or the AI developer instead of just blaming driver error? That completely flips the script on insurance and liability.
It changes absolutely everything. And yes, that's a huge challenge we'll get to. But the potential benefit is that AVs don't get distracted, they don't get tired, they follow the rules perfectly, and their reaction times are way beyond human capability. One major study suggested widespread adoption could cut traffic deaths by as much as 80%. Think about that. It's like a public health revolution.
An 80% reduction? That's hard to even fathom. Okay, safety is compelling. But beyond saving lives, what about just saving time? Can these cars actually give us back those hours stuck in traffic?
Oh, absolutely. AVs can optimize routes, maintain smoother speeds, and coordinate traffic flow much better than us humans, all driving individually. There was a university study, I think, that found if just 10% of cars were autonomous, it could improve traffic flow in cities by something like 35%.
Just 10% adoption having that big an impact? That's surprising.
Yeah.
If that scales up, you're talking about reclaiming potentially hours every week for millions of commuters.
That time reclamation is a massive selling point. And then there's accessibility. Think about the elderly or people with disabilities that prevent them from driving. For millions, this lack of mobility is a huge barrier. AVs could offer unprecedented freedom and independence, access to jobs, social events, doctor's appointments, without relying on anyone else.
That's a powerful argument for inclusion and dignity. What about the environmental angle? Are they greener?
Well, many EVs being developed are electric, so you get the zero tailpipe emissions benefit right there. But even beyond that, the AI drives much more efficiently. Smoother acceleration, less braking, optimal speed. That alone can cut fuel consumption or optimize battery usage by maybe 20–30% compared to how humans typically drive. Plus, if we move towards shared autonomous fleets, we could drastically reduce the total number of cars needed and the land wasted on parking.
Fewer cars, less pollution, and the economic savings you touched on earlier.
Right. Fewer accidents should mean lower insurance premiums eventually. But the really big projection is around ownership itself. Shared autonomous ride-sharing services could slash transportation costs for households, especially in cities, by up to 40%. Imagine not needing to own a car, pay for insurance, maintenance, parking. That's a huge potential saving for many people.
Okay, safer, greener, cheaper, more efficient, more accessible. It sounds almost too good to be true. Which means we need to talk about the roadblocks. What are the biggest technical hurdles still holding back that Level 5 dream?
Well, even the best systems today are still brittle in some ways. Simple things like mud or snow covering a sensor can effectively blind the car temporarily. Cameras have real trouble with things like intense sun glare or heavy fog. And the AI can still get confused by complex or ambiguous situations that a human driver might handle intuitively.
Those infamous edge cases.
Exactly. You might remember the high-profile tragic incident where a test AV struck and killed a pedestrian. The investigation showed the sensors actually did detect the person, but the AI failed to correctly classify what it was seeing or react appropriately in time. Even the most advanced systems still struggle with maybe 10–15% of really unusual or unexpected scenarios. Pedestrians darting out, sudden unmarked construction zones, extreme weather.
Nailing that last 10–15% is clearly the hardest part. Okay, moving beyond the tech itself, what about the legal mess? If a Level 4 car crashes in its operating domain, who is responsible?
That's the giant legal vacuum right now. Is it the car manufacturer? The company that wrote the AI software? The fleet operator that maintains the vehicle? Our current legal systems are built entirely around the idea of a single human driver being liable. They just aren't equipped for this.
And the regulations aren't helping either, I gather.
Not yet, no. A massive problem. You have this patchwork of different rules, state by state, country by country. It creates huge uncertainty for developers and investors. Legal experts warn this lack of clear, consistent rules could lead to years, maybe decades, of messy court battles and really slow down the global rollout.
That legal uncertainty feeds right into the ethical minefield, doesn't it? It's not just who pays, it's how do we program morality. The classic trolley problem. Does the car swerve to save a pedestrian but risk hitting its passengers, or does it stay the course?
This is where code meets philosophy head on. The car has to be programmed with some kind of decision logic for those impossible choices. And that huge moral machine experiment, surveying millions worldwide, it found something crucial. There's no global agreement on who the car should prioritize.
So the big takeaway isn't just that it's a hard choice for the AI, it's that we as humans haven't collectively decided what the right choice even is. Does that cultural difference make universal rules almost impossible?
It makes global scaling incredibly tricky. The study showed, for instance, that people in some Western cultures tend to favor protecting the pedestrian, while those in some Asian cultures tend to prioritize saving the vehicle's occupants. Companies deploying these cars face this ethical tightrope, potentially facing backlash no matter which way they program the car in different regions.
Wow, that is complex. Okay, another threat. Cybersecurity. These are basically networked computers on wheels. How vulnerable are they?
It's a massive concern. They are absolutely targets. Think about GPS spoofing to send cars off course, or worse, remotely hacking into critical systems like steering or braking. The nightmare scenario is a bad actor gaining control of not just one car, but potentially an entire fleet.
So protecting these systems needs constant, military-grade security efforts.
Absolutely. Security can't be an afterthought. It has to be baked in from the ground up. The stakes are just far too high.
Let's talk about us, the humans. Public trust seems low. You mentioned maybe 60% of people are uncomfortable with fully autonomous cars. And then there's the human unpredictability factor.
Yeah, the trust issue is huge. It comes from that fear of losing control, partly. And it's not helped when people see AVs driving perhaps too cautiously sometimes because they struggle to predict what erratic humans might do next, like jaywalking or sudden lane changes without signaling. Building trust is going to take time, massive transparency from the companies about incidents and near misses, and frankly, more opportunities for the public to actually experience these level 4 systems safely.
And the flip side of the human equation, job displacement. This could be the biggest, most immediate social impact, right?
It's a major, major worry. Millions of jobs depend on driving, trucking, taxis, delivery services. Some labor estimates suggest up to, 2.5 million driving-related jobs just in the U.S. could be significantly impacted, maybe eliminated, over the next decade or two. If we don't plan for that transition, we could see real social disruption.
What kind of investment is needed to manage that shift, to retrain people?
Well, one OECD estimate suggested that setting up robust retraining programs globally, things like teaching former drivers specialized AV maintenance or coding skills for related industries, could cost around $50 billion. Sounds like a lot, but the potential social cost of not doing it, of widespread unemployment in that sector, could be far, far higher.
That really underscores the societal responsibility here. Okay, let's look at the global picture. How are the big players tackling these challenges? Are there different strategies emerging?
Oh, definitely. You see some very distinct approaches. You've got Waymo, for example, Google's spinoff. They've been a real pioneer in level 4, operating their driverless services in those defined areas like Phoenix and San Francisco. Their approach is cautious, meticulous mapping, quite slow and expensive to scale, but it's proving that level 4 can work safely in those controlled zones.
And then there's Tesla with their full self-driving.
Right. Tesla's taking a much bolder, maybe more controversial approach, primarily relying on cameras and AI, skipping LiDAR for the most part, and gathering massive amounts of real-world driving data. But despite the name, FSD is still fundamentally a level 2 or maybe level 2 plus fuzz system. It absolutely requires the driver to be paying attention and ready to intervene. It's constantly under scrutiny regarding its safety claims and how it's marketed.
It seems like a fundamental difference in philosophy scaling fast with data versus methodical proof in limited areas. And the risks are real, as we saw with Cruise.
Exactly. Cruise, which is backed by GM, had that major setback in 2023. A serious incident led to them having their permit suspended in California. It was a stark reminder of the incredibly high stakes when you deploy these advanced systems, especially level 4, in complex city environments before, perhaps, all the kinks are worked out. It really put a chill on things for a bit.
And are we seeing different national approaches, different philosophies country by country?
Yes, that's fascinating too. Europe generally is taking a very safety-first stance. Regulations are stricter, focused on proving level 3 capabilities reliably, often on highways first. They seem to want more incremental, verifiable progress.
Makes sense. What about elsewhere?
Japan is interesting. They see AVs as a crucial answer to a major societal need. their rapidly aging population. So there's a big focus on using AVs for senior mobility, especially in rural areas where transport options are limited. China, meanwhile, with Baidu's Apollo program being a prime example, is moving very fast on level 4 testing. Their regulatory environment appears less restrictive in some ways, allowing for really aggressive testing and data gathering on public roads, though that speed does bring up questions around data privacy and state oversight.
So it's really a fragmented global race driven by different priorities. Okay, let's try and pull this all together. The tech is moving at lightning speed, clearly. But where does that leave society? What's the verdict for the next decade?
I think the broad consensus is society isn't quite keeping pace with the technology yet. Getting this right needs everyone pulling together: engineers, regulators, ethicists, the public. We desperately need more consistency.
What's a realistic timeline then? When might we actually see widespread level 5 and go anywhere anytime cars?
Projections vary, of course, but maybe level 4 capabilities become somewhat common, say in 20-30% of new cars, particularly in shared fleets, by around 2030. But true universal level 5, that still feels like it's at least a decade away, maybe more. Think 2035, 2040, perhaps even later, for it to be truly ubiquitous. And the most urgent need right now seems to be getting those legal and regulatory frameworks sorted out. Absolutely. Clear rules on liability, standardized safety certifications. That's what builds confidence, provides certainty for investment, and allows this technology to scale safely and effectively beyond those initial geo-fenced areas. Until we draw those legal and ethical lines clearly, the tech will remain somewhat contained.
It feels like we humans have some serious homework to do to catch up with the machines we're creating.
We really do. And the outcome, the convenience, when we get there, it's poised to completely reshape our cities and how we live.
And that brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe mull over. Think about the sheer convenience. If self-driving cars let you work, sleep, watch movies, essentially making your commute productive or relaxing, could that convenience actually encourage more sprawl? If the journey itself becomes effortless, will we just choose to live further and further out, spending the same amount of time commuting, just covering greater distances? Could we inadvertently trade the potential efficiency gains for just bigger suburbs? Something to think about.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So last time, in part 1, we really dug into the nuts and bolts of self-driving cars.
Yeah, we covered the 6 levels of autonomy, the sensors, LiDAR, cameras, all that tech, and started looking at the benefits versus the challenges, like ethics and cost.
Exactly. We lay that foundation. But today, we need to zoom out, right? We hinted that the tech itself might not be the biggest hurdle anymore.
That's it. The technology is, well, it's moving incredibly fast. But the real sticking points now are broader. It's about how these vehicles fit into our world. Public acceptance, reshaping our cities, and just dealing with, unpredictable humans. So our mission today is really about that bigger picture. How do autonomous vehicles change our lives, our values? And the big one, trust. How do we get comfortable handing over the wheel? Are we actually ready for robot chauffeurs? We're shifting gears, definitely. Moving from the engineering to the sociology almost. We'll look at why humans and these precise machines sometimes clash on the road. What happens when cities maybe don't need as many parking lots? And crucially, how do companies build confidence in systems that, let's face it, sometimes have to make incredibly tough decisions?
All right, let's unpack that first point then. This fundamental conflict. Machine precision versus, human chaos.
These cars are programmed to follow rules perfectly. Absolute data, right? But then they hit the real world. Jaywalkers, cyclists weaving, people speeding, sudden lane changes. Just human stuff.
And that's a massive challenge for the algorithms. What our sources show is that when a self-driving car faces really unexpected human behavior, its default programming is often ultra cautious.
Meaning
it might hesitate or even overreact. Think about an autonomous car slamming on the brakes at a green light because its sensors pick up a kid on a skateboard maybe heading towards the curb. Technically, it's preempting a risk.
But for the human driver behind it,
it's completely baffling and potentially dangerous in its own way. That sudden, unexpected stop. Yeah, that friction leads to something pretty counterintuitive we found. We all assume this tech instantly means fewer accidents. But one report we looked at suggested that, in the short term, with mixed traffic, humans and AVs sharing the road, minor accidents might actually go up. Something like 5-10%.
It sounds backwards, doesn't it? But yeah, that's what some initial findings suggest.
How does that work if the machine's safer?
It's a great question. It's not that the AI is suddenly driving badly. It's more about that interaction, that unpredictability. The increase seems to be in minor things, fender benders, confusion at junctions, mostly because humans struggle to predict the machine's logic.
Okay.
When the AV is being super cautious, maybe a human driver tries to nudge past or just misinterprets what the car's about to do, it's really a communication breakdown between human and machine intelligence.
So they're just not speaking the same language on the road. How do we fix that? How do we get them to communicate better without handing everyone a rule book?
Well, there are ideas for the cars to signal intentions more clearly to humans. Things like maybe lights projected onto the road saying stopping, or a little display, simple visual cues.
Right.
But that's kind of surface level. The deeper solution, the one with more potential, is vehicle-to-vehicle communication, V2V.
V2V. Cars talking to each other. What are they saying? Speed, direction.
Exactly that, and more. Speed, trajectory, if they're braking, planning a turn, all shared milliseconds before it happens. Imagine the car 2 vehicles ahead of you suddenly brakes hard.
Okay.
With V2V, your autonomous car knows instantly and can adjust smoothly, way faster than a human could react. It creates this huge safety buffer.
It's like giving every car predictive powers.
Precisely. And it works. There was a pilot program in Michigan testing V2V systems. They found it could cut down traffic conflicts, near misses, sudden stops, risky merges by up to 20%.
20% is huge.
In those mixed traffic situations. Yeah, it's a big deal.
But V2V only really works if all the cars are doing it, doesn't it? Or at least a lot of them.
That's the massive hurdle.
It's not just about the new AVs, it's upgrading everything else on the road. That sounds like a colossal infrastructure project.
It absolutely is, which again underlines that this whole shift is societal, it's systemic, not just about swapping out one car for another.
Okay, which brings us neatly to the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Even if the tech becomes, flawless or near enough, there's still trust. Mm-hmm. The car can be perfect, but if people don't trust it, they won't get in. Mm-hmm. How much control are we as humans willing to give up?
And the data shows we're pretty hesitant. There was a global survey, quite recent, found only about 35% of people worldwide feel comfortable riding in a fully autonomous car right now.
Only 35%?
Yeah.
Wow, so nearly 2/3 are skeptical or just plain unwilling.
Yeah, they're on the sidelines, waiting and seeing, or just saying no thanks.
That's a huge barrier to mass adoption, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't just run ads and expect people to suddenly trust their lives to an algorithm. No, you can't mandate trust. It has to be earned.
Yeah.
And I think transparency is key here. We saw one industry expert put it really well, something like, trust is earned through openness, not perfection. Openness, not perfection, meaning admit when things go wrong.
Exactly. Stop pretending these things are magic black boxes that never fail. Acknowledge the limitations. Be upfront about the edge cases they're still working on. Show how they learn from incidents.
And let people experience it.
Definitely. Real-world experience seems crucial. Those public test rides, like they've done in Austin, in Singapore, they show really promising results. One trial found something like 80% of people felt safer after the ride than before.
80%. That's a big swing.
It is. That direct experience, combined with clear, simple explanations, no jargon that starts to chip away at that deep-seated need most of us feel to be in control behind the wheel.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. Beyond the individual driver or rider, what about the cities themselves? If autonomy really takes hold, the ripple effects could completely change urban landscapes, couldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. The most immediate and maybe dramatic impact could be on parking. Think about it. If cars can drop you off and then go park themselves efficiently, maybe miles away, or just keep circulating in a rideshare fleet, you don't need nearly as much prime downtown real estate dedicated to parking structures or street parking.
Precisely. Some experts project we could see the need for parking spaces drop by as much as 50%.
50%? That's staggering. Think of all that land tied up just storing metal boxes.
It's potentially transformative. We're talking freeing up land that could be used for housing, for parks, for businesses. One study looked at Los Angeles and estimated that repurposing just half of LA's parking footprint could create space for like 10,000 new homes or 200 acres of green space. It's a fundamental redesign of the city. That sounds amazing, almost utopian. But I remember our sources also raised a flag. A kind of counter-argument, the sprawl dilemma.
Ah, yes. That's the crucial downside risk. If your commute suddenly becomes easy, you're working, watching a movie, sleeping, even the psychological barrier to living further away from the city center drops significantly.
Because the travel time isn't lost time anymore.
Exactly. So a planning think tank warned this could actually encourage more suburban sprawl. maybe increasing development by 15 or 20% further out in some areas.
So we gain clean air in the city center from fewer cars circling for parking, but potentially lose out overall because people are just traveling much longer distances? That's a complex trade-off.
It really is. It shows that autonomy itself is just a tool. The outcome depends heavily on policy choices. Do cities incentivize shared rides and denser living, or do they just let sprawl happen?
And this ties into another cultural shift, doesn't it? Away from actually owning a car.
Definitely. The trend seems to be strongly towards mobility as a service. Subscriptions, on-demand rides. You see it especially with younger generations.
Yeah.
One survey found 60% of millennials said they'd prefer a subscription autonomous ride service over owning a car themselves, with all the costs and hassles.
60%. That's a majority.
And there's an equity angle, too, potentially. Reliable, affordable, autonomous transport could be a game changer for areas poorly served by public transit or where car ownership is just too expensive for many.
But what about that feeling, the freedom of the open road? Cars have always symbolized that, haven't they? Does that just disappear?
I think it evolves. It becomes a different kind of freedom. Driving has always meant control, independence, but autonomy offers freedom from driving. Freedom from driving. Yeah. A sociologist we looked at put it quite profoundly. Self-driving cars could shift our cultural definition of freedom from controlling the wheel to controlling our time. You get those hours back, that commute time becomes productive time or leisure time. Okay, that's a big shift. Right, let's tackle some of the really tough scenarios. We had listeners send in questions about these edge cases that really push the limits. First one, what about extreme situations? Real emergencies, natural disasters.
Yeah, this is a big one. Current systems, especially level 4, they really struggle here. They're trained on data that assumes a certain level of predictability.
And disasters are anything but predictable.
Exactly. Flooded roads, thick smoke from wildfires, unexpected debris.
Yeah.
If the environment looks completely different from anything in its training data, the car might just freeze. Or make overly cautious choices that actually block emergency services.
So the car sees the water, but doesn't understand it's a flood in the same way a human would. Is there a tech solution for this kind of chaos?
The most promising approach seems to be integration. The car needs more than just its own sensors. It needs real-time information from official sources, emergency services, traffic management.
Like getting intel directly from the authorities.
Basically, yeah. Think of it like air traffic control for cars during a crisis. There's actually a pilot project in Japan testing this right now, feeding disaster info directly to AVs. And the initial results are pretty striking, about a 30% improvement in navigating simulated disaster zones successfully.
30%. Okay, so it's not just the car's brain, but a networked intelligence. That makes sense. Next question, thinking globally. What about deploying these cars in developing countries where traffic is? Well, let's say highly dynamic. Dynamic is one word for it. This might be the toughest challenge of all, globally speaking. AV systems are generally designed and trained for places with clear lanes, traffic lights that work, drivers mostly following the rules.
Places like India, Nigeria, Brazil, not always like that. Not at all. You've got chaotic flows, rules are often, suggestions, inconsistent signage, pedestrians everywhere, stray animals, rickshaws, motorcycles weaving. It's incredibly complex.
So the AI models trained in, say, California just can't cope.
They have real problems. A World Bank analysis pointed out that current AVs have error rates up to 25% higher in these environments compared to orderly roads. The system just isn't built to handle 3 rickshaws, 2 scooters, and a cow all vying for the same bit of road.
A 25% higher error rate is huge. So you can't just drop the same tech everywhere. You need, like, AI trained specifically for Delhi traffic or Lagos traffic.
That seems to be the consensus. You need AI trained on local patterns, maybe with different parameters for risk tolerance, understanding local driving culture, if you like. But the potential benefit in those places is enormous too. Shared autonomous fleets could offer safer, more reliable transport where traffic fatalities are currently tragically high. Okay, interesting. Last question area for the car lovers. What happens to car culture? The joy of driving, the classic road trip, does it all just fade away? I don't think it dies, but it definitely changes, maybe becomes more niche. For true enthusiasts, the act of driving itself, the control, the feedback, the sound, that's the point. For many others, driving is just a means to an end, often a chore.
So road trips change.
Totally. If you're not focused on the driving, the road trip becomes much more about the journey itself, the conversation, the scenery, stopping whenever you like, arriving relaxed, less stress, more experience.
Well, we still even have steering wheels. Will that option exist?
Probably yes, at least for a while. An auto industry report we saw predicted that even by 2035, maybe 15% of autonomous vehicles sold might still offer a manual driving mode for those who specifically want it.
So the Sunday drive survives. It just becomes a deliberate choice, not the default way to get around.
Exactly. A hobby, perhaps, rather than a necessity.
Okay, so if we tie all these threads together, the tech challenges like V2V and edge cases, the huge hurdle of public trust, the massive potential for urban change, the cultural shifts, where does that leave us on the timeline for full autonomy?
It leaves us with incredible progress, but still a significant way to go. Level 5 that truly go anywhere, anytime. Autonomy, it's definitely not just around the corner. The consensus seems to be putting it at least a decade out, maybe 2035, possibly later.
And the remaining hurdles are?
Really nailing the AI for those super rare, unpredictable edge cases, getting global agreement on regulations and laws, which is a huge diplomatic and legal challenge. And of course, funding and implementing the necessary infrastructure upgrades, smart roads, B2B networks, robust connectivity.
So we've explored this massive potential: safer roads, maybe greener cities, redefined freedom. But the path there is... well, it's complicated, it's messy, it's expensive, and it really hinges on us, on human psychology and acceptance. We've got the facts, the figures, the forecasts. But thinking about it all, what stands out to you? Would you personally trust a self-driving car in heavy city traffic today? Or are you waiting for a few more of those green lights before you hand over control? Until next time, stay curious.